We're all about mixing it up in this meeting, right? So usually I sit here and do a preamble, the very first thing in the meeting, and then I praise everybody that came at 7:30 or a little bit after it. Then I tell off everybody else for coming later than 7:30 because that's when the start of the meeting is. And then after that, I sum some clever little line or two to try and hand over to the hymns team. But this time I decided, well, I didn't decide. It just turned out that we went with the hymns first before I even opened my mouth, which I think is a much better way of doing this. Suffice it to say, welcome everybody to Tuesday meeting. It is a great thing to see you all here with us on this otherwise freezing night. We're going to kick things off in just a bit. We actually have with us tonight a couple of very special guests. Which is actually why there are two mic stands in front of me. This is not redundant. This is done very intentionally and very on purpose. So before we do proceed with tonight's very impressive two-man presentation, we're going to have our very own Abuna Bishoy Kamel, who's going to share with us some... Yeah, no, he took too long. No, so... Now that we've embarrassed me further, so let's go with Abuna Bishoy Kamel, who's going to share with us a few of the questions that have been submitted to us online via the Slido link, which we always put up every week in our Instagram post and on socials. So Abuna, please, would you share with us some of the youth's questions?
The two speakers are laughing about the fact that they're wearing the same watch. So it seems we're in for a long night. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. So thank you again for the wonderful questions that have come. We'll get straight into them. So the first question that has come amidst many, we're going to take this one because it's a very unique question. Thoughts on the book of Enoch. Why hasn't it been included? Why does Ethiopian books have it but not Copts? So essentially, as you know, the gospel is a culmination of many scriptures. And there are other scriptures that have been written that were not included in the books of what we see together as the Bible. In the council that convened around 325 AD to study the authenticity of these books. Another one is known as the Gospel of St. Thomas, for example. The Gospel of St. Thomas was found by a farmer in Upper Egypt who was tilling the ground. And as he was tilling, he hid a flask under the ground, he pulled it up, and he found a scroll in it that had written in it quite a lot of similar parables or synoptic parables as we see in the three synoptic Gospels. And there was an introduction in it that showed that it was from St. Thomas. However, when it was studied again by this council in 325 AD, they looked at a couple of things such as what they looked at for the book of Enoch. One is the period that it was written in. For the book of Enoch, it wasn't very easy to determine when it was written, and what they found, it seemed to be written not during the time of Enoch himself, but much after the Old Testament was all written and before the New Testament was written, which casted a shadow of doubt in terms of its authenticity. The second issue that the council had with the book of Enoch was the way that it resembled angels, those that were heavenly creations, and those that fell out of grace, and where it placed them in the heavenly orders of ranks, which is not in line with what the church sees. And as such, when it was translated from the Septuagint is going from the Jewish translation, the original translation, to Greek, or the language of the time, the book of Enoch was not translated because of these two nuances and other nuances that were found in terms of its authenticity, and the same with the book of St. Thomas and many other books. And so as such, whilst the Ethiopian church decided to acknowledge it as a book that is beyond the Bible, but holistically, the church doesn't acknowledge it or see it as a biblical book based on the fact that it could not be authenticated, if that's a word, or the authenticity of it, back to Enoch as a patriarch? Wonderful question. I think just to add to that, so we need to be careful of what we're reading. The gospel is the gospel. There are obviously the canonical books, which the church has acknowledged, but there are others, if you search, that you will come across that are not part of it. I encourage you to research first before you delve into the reading, and if in doubt, ask your spiritual guide or your father of confession. We'll take one more question because there's a few in the list, and this one has been sitting in this list for a while. And the question is, what are some practical things to do to help with a long-distance relationship? So thank you to the person that asked this question. We did cover relationships late last year, I think, where we spoke about the courting period, the engagement period, what marriage is really like, and the journey thereof. In terms of long-distance relationships, look, these are not new. So many people in our previous generations, our parents, they were from one city and they got married to someone from another city. And dad and mum could have been from opposite ends of Egypt. And as such, long-distance relationships are needing some specific guidelines in terms of how do you actually get to find out this person and whether they are really A, God's will for you, and B, can you be compatible enough to make this team work? And so the dilemma that comes in the long-distance relationships is you just can't get in the car and come to the same church and so on. And as such, a lot of it is online, over the phone, and what have you. And so the guidance that the church gives in that aspect is that you need to, number one, make time to be able to go spend some time together in either city. Meaning take a day or two off either way, have an arrangement such that you can come and be in person when you are A, courting or even be engaged. Number two, be clear as to the intent, not just for marriage, but as to if God permits for this relationship to continue, where will you actually reside? Which city are you going to pick for you to pursue a life? Number three, set boundaries in the aspect of the online communication. What do I mean by that? Is that sometimes when we try to call someone and you don't get in contact with them, what happens? You leave them a voicemail. If they don't respond, you send them a text message. If they don't respond, then you try to Instagram them. Is that a thing? And if they don't respond, then you go onto their Facebook page, and if they don't respond, I've actually had one couple where, because the young lady couldn't get the attention of the young man, she sent him a fax at work. That's an invasion of digital space. There is such a thing. So make sure that even though you are digitally connected, that there is, just as you were, if you were here in person, that there is space given to each other, that we acknowledge our time of work is our time when we can't answer the phone. Our time in prayer is our time. Our time in church is our time. And lastly, what I would advise is that even though you are doing things remote, agree on doing things together at the same time and then come back and connect on them. For example, attending the liturgy at the same time. I'm hoping that you are in relatively close time zones. And then come back and share what you experience in the liturgy. Attend your service at the same time, come back and share it. Try to do things together, even though remotely, but make it such that you are doing it and collectively experiencing it, such that there is commonality between you, between the hi, how are you, and the love hearts and the flowers and the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got to work at it, even though long distance, make time to be together. Make time to make sure that you are doing things in an aspect of unity and coming back and convening and talking about it. Make sure that you respect each other's space digitally and make sure as well that you've got your confession father on that path for you throughout. Thank you for the questions, and please keep them coming. Again, as we say every week, these are totally anonymous, but please don't feel that any question is too big or too small to ask. If it's too big, we'll turn it into a topic. If it's too small, we'll amalgamate it with other ones. But please do keep them coming through. Glory be to God forevermore.
Thank you so much, Father. So, time for the main event. All right. Now, we've got one of two options. You can either move closer to us to the front so that you can see what's going on the slides, or we come to you and then embarrass you because you can't read or see anything on the slides. I'd prefer option one just because it's nicer. So can we, please, Argukum, please come a little bit closer to the front. Oh my God, on the first time as well. I don't have to beg. How blessed. All right, sorry. Look, I've been serving this meeting for quite some time, and usually we have to beg and plead, and it gets really embarrassing for me specifically, but I have a very low shame threshold, so, or a high one, take your pick. So tonight, we have Robert on my left with the laptop. We have Andrew in his well-dressed coat on my right. These two are youth who, by the grace of God, are serving us here in this meeting, and they've got some testimonies to share about their mission trips. I'll let them talk you through tonight's topic, and we hope that you take something positive away from this and that we can grow in this special message. So take it away, guys.
Thanks, Daniel. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Robert, and as Daniel said, this is Andrew over here. I'll let Andrew shortly introduce himself. So we'll just get started. Just so you know, this is meant to be very casual and chilled. It's very conversational, so if you do have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to stop us. Just bear in mind, we are keeping track of time as well, so we don't go over time. So, all right, without further ado, we'll get started. So just so you know, we both went on the Fiji trip together, but I also did South Africa in 2018. So I'm going to let Andrew focus on Fiji, and then I'll focus on South Africa.
Yeah. All right, which it's actually great to have you guys here because some of you went to Fiji. I can see you sitting at the back hiding, those that came to Fiji. So pretty much what I want to say is mission trips, I believe, pick you. You don't pick them. For someone that never went on a mission trip, this somehow, I got picked. I got picked somehow. When I was like, do you want to go to Fiji? I was like, yeah. It's like, it's going to be a mission trip. I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was a holiday. I thought it was when it was chilling, wants me to take me on a holiday, but nah. Anyway, so mission trips pick you. And you don't know your mission. You can plan the mission trip as much as you want. You can have an itinerary plan. You can have everything. And at the end of the day, it's God. God uses you for that mission. And God uses you as a tool. Because I went, it was my first time, didn't have any idea what a mission trip is. All I heard was I felt like I was going to, sponsor a child, save an African child, all that stuff that you see on TV, the feel-good stuff, the photo op that you've done and served in Africa or any of those, developing countries. But this one felt special. So Robert and I, before we start, this is another thing we have to say, is that all the photos, we'll have photos of children and stuff. So please don't take any photos. They've been blacked out because they either come from... they're living in safe homes or they're child protection. It's because most of them, their families have abandoned them, and for their own safety, they've been put in these safe homes so their people don't get to them or harm them in any way. So you'll see some photos where some people are blacked out. So just don't think it's some error or anything. But yeah, Robert and I thought we'd put a disclaimer. So about me, just so you know, a mission trip doesn't really have a criteria as who you are as a person. Anyone can do a mission trip. Robert is a teacher. I'm a radiographer. Two completely different fields. Don't feel like you feel to have certain set of skills to go on a mission trip. No, anyone can do a mission trip. If you feel like you want to go on a mission trip and there's something available for you, please put your hand up and go on it. All right. So, my mission was, and I thought I'd write this down, I sought to engage in service in a new way and gain a deeper understanding of missions. This experience marked my inaugural participation in such endeavors, having previously only heard about them. So for me, I've only heard about mission trips, never really got interested in them, but for some reason, I felt that God was pushing me to go on this trip. And for Robert?
Yep. So the reason I went on the mission trip the first time in 2018, I was at a very low point in my life where I felt like I had no purpose. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning to go to work. My spiritual life was also very stale. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this mission trip and hopefully I can reignite my spiritual journey again.
That's right. As you can see here in that photo, you can be as much of a child as you want on mission trips. It's amazing. Like, you can be whoever you want. Like, you can carry kids, play around, do whatever you want. Like, it is just being simple and just enjoying the simple life with these people. So this kid didn't even know me. Within 5 minutes, I was already carrying him. So, yeah, it's just, that's how it is. Mission trips, when God wants to use you, the people around you just love you. They come around and just somehow they know you. They've known you for so long. It's weird.
And just to put it out there, he's not an orphan. He's actually the child of the priest. That's why his face is not blurred out. So we're okay to have his photo up there. Okay, so we'll just quickly give you a trip overview of the things we did. Andrew will talk about what we did in Fiji, and I'll quickly touch on South Africa before we get into the testimonials.
So yeah, Fiji, we went to a lot of places in Fiji. It was about a 14-day trip. We went to St. Mina's Children's Home in Nadi. So our trip was divided into two, Nadi and Suva. It is spelled N-A-D-I. There is a hidden N in Nadi. Apparently, when the white people came, they just couldn't, so they just said Nadi, but it's actually Nandi. So we went to St. Mina's Children's Home, then we went to Loloma, and then we moved to Suva. There we had St. Mark's Church. It's a Coptic church that's there. And then St. Philomena's Children's Home, which is part of the Coptic church. And then we went to an aged care visitation, which was, I think, government owned. I think was that a government one? And then a mental asylum, which was actually like, yeah, it was rough. They don't have doctors over there, and I will talk about it later. But and then we went to the township visitations. We went around the city, and then the correctional facility, which I find the most funniest place. Like, honestly, Fiji prisons. We'll talk about it later. And I have someone that went, who was lucky enough to go. I'll get him to stand up later and speak about it. But yeah, that was the overview from the Fiji side.
In South Africa, because we did. Our church wasn't running mission trips at the time, so I went with Exodus, and we actually went to Cape Town. Now, just so you're aware of Cape Town, so that when I speak about testimonials later on, we don't actually have, the bishop resides in Johannesburg. He doesn't reside in Cape Town, so we don't actually have a Coptic church in Cape Town. It's in Johannesburg, and so we liaised with different Christian organizations. One of those organizations was the Sozo Foundation. We had the Restoring Hands organization, which was for the soup kitchen. A lot of crazy stories with that coming up. We had shack building and concreting, which was just purely Exodus based. And then we had care package drop-offs in a very tough neighborhood called Lavender Hill near the Cape Flats, which some of you may or may have not have heard of the Cape Flats. So that was the overview for South Africa. Okay, so I thought about this, and I thought, I'm not going to sit here talking at you and telling you our testimonials only. I thought, well, what's the purpose of a mission trip? Why do people go on mission trips? And I narrowed it down to 2 goals, okay? So the first goal, which I'm going to get Andrew to talk about, and then I'll talk about the second goal.
So, the first goal is pretty much you are there to evangelize. These people are simple in their mind. So, your basic kindergarten, Sunday school class will make a big difference over there. Giving them the word of God in a simple way. The 5 loaves and 2 fish. Simple story for us to say and think, but for them, wow, it's God's power. And especially when they have nothing to believe in God that He'll provide for them. It's a big thing. Yes, they're simple stories to us, but for them, whatever's simple is very complex and it's very big and it's very spiritual. and they take it like it's worth more than gold to them when they hear the word of God. They would sit around you and they will listen to you like you're one of those disciples in the Old Testament listening to, preaching. So evangelizing through action. So that was the other thing. It was what we did while we were interacting as a group, like as a Sydney group together, that they saw us doing, that they loved us because they saw how we love each other and we just, we're not shouting at each other. We all agree with each other. We have this unity with us that they loved us even more. So evangelizing is actually more powerful when it's in your actions, when you yourself are doing the things, not just because you want to take a photo with the kids and look good or whatever. No, you're actually doing it because you believe in yourself that God is using you through your actions, not by your words, to give something, a message to these people. So let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven, Matthew 5:16. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do, Ephesians 2:10. So when you go on a mission trip, all that you think you're doing has already been planned by God. So each one of you, when you go on a mission trip, you're tools to God, all right? And you all have your own little assignments and little tasks that you will do without knowing. So when I was on this mission trip, I was put in situations where I didn't know I can do this. And God was using me. And it was weird because I was like, what is this? Why am I here by myself doing this? But then you understand by the end of the trip that this was your task. And each person in our Fiji trip, and Rob would agree, had a certain task somehow assigned to him. There was no one person telling us what to do. It was more like, this thing came in front of this problem. I'm facing it by myself. Like, I'll solve this. This is my issue to solve. So you will realize that there is things that were targeted for you to do yourself. And then Lydia, who runs the St. Mina's home, she's Coptic. She goes to St. Mark's and she resides now in Fiji with her family. And she told us, like the first thing she told us when we went there, she goes, give them something that lasts beyond you. So leave something behind that, next time, if you come again on this mission trip, you build on. And leave something for them to remember you by. Not just, you being there for them. Because she didn't want us to have strong interactions with them, with the kids, and then leave them. Because then there would be some sort of abandonment. So she told us, no, build something, do something. Make them remember your group rather than the individual person. Let them remember you as a group. So that was really something big. Give something that lasts beyond you. So on the mission trip, you're not taking. You're learning, but at the same time, you need to leave something behind for them. Okay? And Robert?
And so that was the first goal. The second, usually, purpose or goal that people would go on a mission trip for is to develop their own personal faith, as I spoke about. And I just wanted to pinpoint it to the verse of, I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. That's from Psalm 34:4. So I won't go into too much about that, but we'll move on just for time purposes. So the testimonials. All right, so I'll just let Andrew do the next part.
No, you do the South Africa first, and then
okay.
we'll...
All right, South Africa. South Africa for me was, like I said to you guys, I was there. My spiritual life was at a stalemate. I couldn't really feel anything, and I was very numb. So when I was there, and I'll show you guys a video because I put an iMovie together. You guys will see it at the end. When I was there was one morning where I actually was praying, and for the first time in a long time, I actually prayed from deep inside. And I literally had hit rock bottom, and I said to God, if you're really listening to my prayer today, I really want to see a sign that I'm making a difference just for this. I know it's a selfish ask, but I don't usually ask for a lot. And this is the one time I'm asking you, please show me a sign that you haven't forgotten about me. And on that very day, two things happened. The first thing is what you see there called the salvation pot at Restoring Hands. So with Restoring Hands, just to paint the picture, Restoring Hands is an organization run by a husband and his wife. He's a pastor, and his wife, pastor as in, not pastor like Italian pastor, but pastor as in Pastor, so a Protestant priest. And basically what he'd do is every Wednesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday, he'd open up his garage to his home, and his wife would use this massive pot, and she'd cook up what they call, so it was rice with a bit of vegetables like corn, peas, whatever cheap vegetables are there in the market, and just a small piece of protein, and that could be just some chicken drumsticks. And they'd open their garage to the local kids in the township, and they don't know how many people are going to rock up. And so I used to say to them, well, how are you going to know how many people to cater for? And she would say to me, there's a reason why this pot is called the salvation pot, and you're going to see. And so she would cook the same quantity every week, and on one day she might get 150 kids, and the following day she might get 350 kids. And guess what? The same portion sizes were served to every single kid, and for some reason, somehow, every kid would get fed in the township that day. And for some kids, that was the only food they'd get that day. So for me to see on Tuesday 150 kids rock up, get fed, and the pot had just finished at the 150th kid. The following day we go, and then they do the same thing again, and they've got 300 kids, and the pot had just finished at the 300th kid. You're like, how is this possible? It doesn't make sense. And so at first I was a bit skeptical. I was like, nah, this is not a 5 loaves, 2 fish situation. I'm not going to believe it. And so I let it slide. I'm like, dear. And then after that, we decided to go and take, on that same day, we had we decided to take the van, put the pot in it, and go and feed the rest of the kids that couldn't make it to the township. And while we were there, so we had Moses, who you'll see in the video. Moses is the equivalent of Debbie, but in South Africa. And so Moses knew which houses or which shacks we could go into to deliver care packages. And the care packages had essentials. It had rice, pasta, oil, water, milk. And so he knew which shacks to go into. And the reason he knew is because he's been living there for God knows how many years, so he's a local. And he targeted specific shacks. He'd only go into the shacks where they had people, struggling families who were actually trying to make ends meet. He wouldn't walk into the shacks where there were drug users and they were trying to, get their kids to go and hustle and steal and stuff to get them the money so they can spend on the drugs. So he knew which families to target. That very morning, I told you I had prayed very hard. We walked into a shack and there was this guy, grills, tattoos. He was a gangster, and a lot of these people were gangsters. Even the pastor himself was a former gangster. And then he found Christ in jail. And then he converted and left his whole old life behind. So this shack we walk into, and then this guy is very scary. And there's a look, if you look in their eyes, they've committed murder, okay? There's the darkness about them. And that's the reality of it. A lot of them, life isn't valuable, so it's kill or be killed. And this guy, I looked at him and we said to him, hey, we're just, here to drop you a package. And the guy looked at me and I could see his kids running around. And he goes, can I give you a hug? And I said to him, you want to give me a hug? And I'm like, I'm scared of this bloke. This guy's going to murder me or something. But I said, yeah, all right, I don't mind you giving me a hug. So I went and I gave him a hug. And the guy started to cry. And he cried. And it wasn't just normal crying. He was hyperventilating. And so I said to him, I'm sorry, are you okay? Like, have I done anything to upset you? He goes, no, you don't understand. I got him, what don't I understand? He goes, I prayed this very morning because my wife is in jail and I can't leave this township because I found Christ. And I found him, and when my gang leader found out that I've joined the Christians, he said to me, if you step foot within out of a 2K radius, I'm going to put a bullet in your head. So because his wife is in jail, he can't even bail her out. And the reason why she's in jail, she's obviously a drug user, and because she's a drug user, she became very abusive, and she was shoplifting and got into she assaulted someone because obviously she's not thinking straight. And so he goes to me, I've had these 3 kids that you can see, and the kids are ages from 5 to around 9 or 10. He goes, they haven't eaten for the past 5 days. I haven't been able to step out to get food. And I prayed to God this morning and I said to him, show me a sign that you're looking out for me, because if you're not, I'm going to put my kids to sleep tonight. I'm going to tuck them in and I'm going to hang a noose around my head and I'm going to take my life. And as soon as I finished that prayer, you guys walked in on me. So I was like, this is I can't believe this right now. This is a miracle. Like, I prayed that morning saying, God, show me a sign that, you're looking out for me and I'm making a difference here. And this guy prayed that same very morning to say, show me a sign, otherwise I'm going to take my life tonight. And then we walked in with the care package so that he can feed his kids who hadn't eaten in 5 days. Then we had Ludwa. Ludwa was a little young man. He was around 12 years old. We went and concreted his shack because they had no... So basically in the townships, what happens is if you are found to have AIDS, because they're all sharing the same sort of communal toilet, they don't want you in the township anymore. So what they do is they go in and they light up your whole shack and light it on fire so they can get rid of you and you can get kicked out. And so Ludwa was, unfortunately, one of his family members had contracted AIDS or HIV or whatever it was, and we had to build them a new shack. So the previous group before us built them the shack. When we went in, we went to concrete the floor for them. We decided to buy them some food. So we went to the local, Woolies equivalent. And you know how you get those roast chicken from the hot food section. So we bought them some chicken and stuff, and we bought them some loaves of bread and like Devon sandwiches because it was the cheapest thing that we could find. And we brought it to his family because we knew they were struggling. And him and his family decided not to eat. They decided to give us the food to eat because we were helping them, and that was their form of saying thank you. And so they gave us the food, and they refused to eat till we ate first. We're fed, well fed, finished, and then they had whatever scraps were left over. And I found that very, very touching. The last one there is the children's visit to the beach. In South Africa, the divide is very, very, it's in your face. So a lot of these kids live 2 streets away from the beach, but could not actually go to the beach because the white people were at the beach. And if you're white, you get preference, you get priority. If you're black, and I can use those terms in South Africa, so in South Africa, you've got the white people at the top, you've got the colored, so the colored are the mixed race, and then you've got the black. They're right at the bottom of the food chain. And so these kids are a mix of black and colored. And we took them to the beach for the first time. And obviously when we went with our Exodus uniform so that any authorities can see we're with an international organization. And so we went to the beach, took these kids to the beach, and the kids were like, wow, what is this? And they're touching the sand. And they were so excited to go to the beach for the first time in their life. It was something they could only see but could never go. As soon as we got there, I kid you not, 15 minutes in, a local white person that was there felt threatened and went and told the security, and the security called the police, and the police came and started telling us, we've got to leave, we've got to evacuate, we can't have black kids on the beach. So we actually had to take them, and they were so distraught, so upset. So we said, okay, what are we going to do? And we're like, we've got to make these kids' day somehow. So we ended up buying them soft serve ice cream from a shop that was selling soft serve ice cream. And the look on their faces when they received that soft serve ice cream, for the first time in their life, they had never tasted soft serve ice cream. And all these kids were like bouncing off the walls, and then all of a sudden you gave them ice cream, and they all sat down, and I was like, oh, wow, what's that? And they're full going hard at this ice cream, and we were looking at it like, wow, this is crazy. Like, things we take for granted in our day-to-day life, these kids, it's a luxury for them. It's a luxury for them. So it taught us a lot, and I'm going to hand over very quickly to Andrew to talk about his testimonials, and then I'll tell you about the lessons I learned at the end. And before Andrew starts, are there any questions before we move from South Africa into Fiji? Any questions at all? Okay, Andrew, thank you.
All right. So following on from what Robert was saying, the things we take for granted, it is a very big thing for them. So in those 2 photos, Lydia, who runs the home, Semina's home, found a TV, an old TV, and the kids, we wanted to run like STEM lessons for them. We wanted to tell them how things work, how a TV works and stuff. So we found this old TV. We broke it up apart into all these. The kids were so quick. So if you wanna get a TV disassembled quickly, these guys are faster than any screwdriver or drill. Like these, out, done. So all the screws were out, and we opened it up, and they were like, wow, what's all this? And we taught them these are capacitors, these are resistors, these are coils, and they learned it, and they were walking around the whole place. Coils, resistors, like they were all electricians at the end of it. It's pretty cool. And they were all happy, and it was so simple. The simple task of just opening up a TV and showing them how it's done. Literally took half a day, and they just enjoyed it. They didn't care. This was the world to them. Seeing a TV open and the back of a TV is like, wow, like whew, big thing for them. And we ran other lessons as well for them, like we were doing tie-dyes and shirts and teaching them how to sell products and how to make money and how taxation works, which they all hated. They hated taxation. They was like, I work so hard for this. Why is the government taking money from my hard work? It was hilarious. Like they were shouting at us as if we were the problem. I was like, this is how life works, you know? You work and you have to pay some money to the government. And then... So yeah, we did the mini business and social enterprise. You'll see some photos after. Alice and the Guava. So that is not Alice in Wonderland. Alice and the Guava is a completely different story. So what happened was Abuna Shnuti was walking and he's like, oh, I feel like I want to eat guava for some reason. I just want guava. Anyway, so this little kid finds out that Abuna wants this. It's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because Abuna saw him in the trees. Anyway, this little kid, like I'm just saying, like this, she was this short. And I believe it was her in this photo. She climbed up this very high tree, very dangerously, and then got all this guava for Abuna. And we were like, what? Abuna was like, who told her? No one. She just heard it. And she just did it. And she just did it by herself and gave it to Abuna. Abuna, I think, ate the most amount of guava on this trip because he didn't want to waste one. Like, he made sure he ate all of them because of how hard this little girl worked to get them. So it was hilarious. And then we went to another home, and then there's this little girl named Matareta. She was in Loloma, and Loloma home is a very rough home. This home is worse than St. Mina's home. St. Mina's home at least gets funding. Loloma home, that gets no funding. You'll see the photos. They live in these like shacks as well, tin shacks. They sleep on the ground, no beds. And these kids come from parents that their mothers like have been raped. And so these kids come out of, from that. And so what happened is one of the kids, she was playing with one of our servants, and then his glasses fell and they got dirtied. And then she used her own clothes to clean them up and give it back to him. She goes, I'm sorry. And we were like, no, you're a child. You're allowed to play. You're allowed. They don't know. They don't have that sense that they can be free and play and be kids and run around. They don't have that. The basic, children behavior like you have as a child, running around in the dirt and playing with the dirt. They don't have that sense. They don't understand. They just want to make sure that you're happy before they're happy. And that's what they made. Like they have nothing to give, but they give so much, if that makes sense. And that was the big thing for us. We learned so much from that. They have nothing to give, but their smile, their actions, their words. Yeah, it's gonna make us cry, but let's not cry. And then we did Sunday school in Suva. Is that right? We did Sunday school, and then we did a park and a pizza day, which was amazing. And then moving on, we'll show you some pictures. I think the next slide is the photos. Is the next one? Oh, the lessons learned. Okay, so you go first.
So the lessons I learned from South Africa, as well as Fiji, but I've tried to implement it since South Africa, and sometimes your fuel gets low and then you have to go on another mission trip. Unfortunately, it becomes an addiction. So before I whinge and complain about my life, I need to stop and think about how little these people had and how happy they were. Another lesson I learned was God will never abandon me in my times of need, just as he didn't abandon the man who cried in their shack when he was trying to feed his kids. And modern day miracles do exist, even in the darkest of places, but I have to be open. I have to open my eyes to see them. I can't be dismissive of them. And those were the three main lessons I learned in South Africa.
Yeah, similar to Robert's lessons learned is the problems I used to think were a big deal don't seem so bad when I see what others are going through. So that luxury that we live in Australia, these people have nothing. I'm telling you, like, simple things like as a doorknob, that there was a toilet, and you'll see the photos, the doorknob wasn't working, so they couldn't get into the toilet, and the toilet stunk, and it was basically a screw that needed to be fixed so that the door could open, and they couldn't do that. They didn't want to touch anything or break anything. They didn't want to get in trouble, and they're very simple people. They just do not want to have any form of problems in their life, so they don't touch anything they don't understand. And so and everything in Fiji, and Robert would know this, Fiji time. Fiji time is worse than Egyptian timing. Like I'm telling you. So if Egyptian timing is 5 hours late, add another 3. So that is Fiji time. And over there, honestly, everything is slow. Like they tell them to do something. Oh, can you get me a ladder? Oh, just wait another half an hour, 2 hours before it gets to you. Like everything is just slow. They love living they love to use their 24 hours. Like they don't wait. Like they just want to extend everything out. Everything is chill. Everyone's chill over there. And the other thing is, it might sound cliche, but we tend to take things for granted and complain when things don't go away. Their life is not even going the right way at all, and they're not complaining. Like nothing is going right in their life. Like we went in summer and it was so hot, and they'd be sweating, and they wouldn't even turn on a fan, or they wouldn't even think a fan is necessary. But I don't, like Robert would think, like, how did these people survive? I don't know. I do not know. And then the other thing is, this mission trip, especially the Fiji, because I only went on one, instilled in me profound sense of gratitude. So when I came back until today, I'm thankful for what I have, for the opportunities that I have, because if these people were given the same opportunity as me, they would be 100 times better than me, 100 times. But God is using us and using you guys when you go on a mission trip for a purpose, to help these people out, and you'll get blessings, and things will make sense in your life, and you'll like thank God for the family I have, for the way I've been brought up, for the schools that I went through, education, everything. Trust me, you will thank God for the littlest stuff, because they thank God for even being able to walk over there.
Okay, so thought, what can we do to tell you how to apply these lessons to your lives? And so I came down to 3 different actions. The first one was keep the mission alive in your everyday life. Okay, so keep photos or tokens or mementos from your trips. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I'm hoping by the end of tonight, you guys are inspired to go on a mission trip. And just so you know, I don't know if I can say this or not on the live stream, but Brazil and Africa are lined up, and Cambodia are lined up. They're in the works, but they should be coming up. I don't know in which order or when, but they will be happening. Hopefully I don't get in trouble by the priest for saying that. But dropping it. So keep any photos, mementos, or tokens from your trips in plain sight so that they can serve as a reminder. So if you feel like you're going to complain, for example, look at that token or that photo and be like, oh, what am I complaining about? Like, I remember this kid, and when this happened, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't be complaining. Live out the lessons you have learned so that others can learn from you. Okay, and that's action 1. Do you want to talk about action 2?
Share your stories. Like, do share your story with your family, friends, your workmates, everything. Don't tell the story in a way that makes you look like the hero, but rather make them look like they were the heroes in that story, because they are. You're there to serve them. Always, if anything at work or in your everyday life triggers a moment from the mission, speak it out. Say it. Say, look, oh, this reminds me when I was in Fiji and I did this, this, and this, and how we, God's hand helped us do this, this, and this. And then you realize that God's there. God's there. God's everywhere. And God will help you get through whatever problem or whatever the situation. Or if it's a happy memory, it will remind you, oh, yep, I remember this. Thank you, Lord. You'll be thankful for a lot of things. And personally, it was my first mission trip, and we saw miracles. I honestly saw miracles, and we'll get to it later. But miracles do happen, and it has to be miracles, because it doesn't make sense how things worked out. It does not make any sense, and Robert would agree as well. It does not make sense how things line up perfectly. Like if you were a second late or a second early, you would miss it. And then by sharing your story, you are inspiring others to follow in your footsteps, and then start a movement of selflessness in a world of selfishness, which is what the church is trying to do, is to love our neighbor, to look out for each other, rather than just look out for ourselves. And then actions 3 is the sustainability.
So how do you keep it alive after you've finished or you've come back from the trip? And so we thought, okay, online tutoring for these kids, and there was a need, and I think the guys that came on to the Fiji, like Kristen, Sarah, and Michael, am I missing anyone? You guys on Marina. Online tutoring for these kids when you return, like we can try and kickstart it and keep that going. I don't know if we have or we haven't. I have to touch base with the servants. Follow up and message the youth. Simple follow up or a message to them on a WhatsApp or whatever it is, and say, "Hey, you guys going?" You know, just keep tabs with them, because you guys, like, when you go, you leave an impact, and they also leave an impact on you. So it's good to sort of keep those connections. Ongoing donations to their services, and at the end of the presentation, you'll see a slide with the donation accounts if you guys are interested in donating. And the last thing is go on your own mission trip and take a friend with you. So highly recommend.
It is fun, trust me. Mission trips, yes, they will tire you out, but it's fun. It's honestly fun. And you see God, it's like you're going on a fun trip with God, and God's leading you the way. It's pretty cool. All right, so photos and videos. So Robert just did a quick collation of photos from Fiji. You can explain how you picked this.
Okay. So when I said keep tabs on the youth from there, so this photo over here is of a gentleman called Tusani and his wife. Now, they got married after we came back. Her name is Talea. So Talea and Tusani, they both got married shortly after we came back. And that priest there is Abuna Raphael he's serving there pretty much full time. I think he was initially from Melbourne.
He's from Melbourne. He started the St. Philomena home, and
Correct.
he's pretty much the one that ignited the service in Fiji. So, yeah, he left his life behind, him and his wife, and they run this beautiful home with 65 kids, and they all call him Dad. They all walk around saying, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing? Hey, Dad." Like, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
And then the bottom two photos are of the slums in Wailea. Wailea is a very dangerous place. In order for us to go there, we had to know a local, and that local happened to be the chief of that sort of township. And then he had little kids that were from the township that were our protection. So wherever we went, these kids followed us so that people know that, hey, it's okay for us to be there. Otherwise, it's a no-go zone. Definitely don't go there. And then the top right photo, Michael, can I get you to come up, because you went to that correctional facility. Can you please come up and give a brief overview on how crazy this correctional facility was? It's you wouldn't even see it in the movies.
Listen up. This is really cool.
So Andrew wasn't, like, I completely forgot. Andrew wasn't with us. So it was me, Bishoy Mikhail, and Anthony Salib. So I don't think Bishoy Mikhail was here, but honestly, that was probably the most hilarious experience I've ever had. So this was, believe it or not, we are actually in a prison, and we were driving in the prison. Two priests were in the front, of Bunishnuti and the priest from Suva. Two men dressed in black. Honestly, that's a red flag just on its own. But we're driving through the prison, and you would expect there to be this is a prison. You'd expect there to be maximum security for a prison. Like, there'll be security guards at the front, like signing us in, making sure we don't have anything suspicious. But we went in, the doors were open. The doors were open, and we drove right in. No one blinked. There were people standing there. There were two people standing in there was like a watchtower. Two people, they were just having a chat. They had no weapons on them. They had not even a knife. They were just holding a stick, and they just let us drive in. Two men dressed in black, they didn't bat an eyelid. So funny. And then, so we drove in, and we parked, and then when we parked, we found one of the prisoners who just walked around in front of us and then said hi. One of the actual prisoners walked and said hi, like, "Hey, how you doing?" And they just walked off. There were no gates. Like, any of the prisoners could have actually escaped the prison, which actually blew our mind. And so anyway, we went out, and we went inside the actual office, and when the chief officer saw us, he was like, like, we got to get a photo. And he got all the security guards to come and take a photo with us, every single security guard. Oh, like
They left the prison behind.
They didn't get the actual one.
Yeah.
That's just with the main chief. But we got all the security guards to take a photo with us, and they were so happy. And literally, like, as we were taking the photo, we just literally saw the prisoners just like running around. But
In Abuna Shnut, his words, the prisoners and the guards sit down and have lunch together.
Yeah, they're chill.
Yeah.
They're very chill. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, what'd you do? Theft. What'd you do? Rape? Like, just casual. Like, just very casual.
And I asked one of the police officers when I saw them, like, why don't you guys carry guns? He goes, brother, this is Fiji. We don't need guns. We don't need guns here.
People are too honest about their prison sentence. Like, they just, they
Like,
just chill.
Why would you leave? Why would you leave? You're a rapist, you're a murderer, but you're getting fed, you have a bed to sleep on at night, rather than being in a township laying on hard rock or hard concrete with no, mattress or anything. So why would you leave? For you, it's like a hotel.
And some people actually try to get back into prison, we were told, so because it's apparently a luxury there. So next, thank you, Mon. Michael was my roommate in Fiji as well. Hilarious times. Also, we have, yes. So this is the cleaning process. So
So we won't elaborate too much because we've got a 12-minute video to show you. So because of time,
yeah, we'll go
we're
very
just
quick.
gonna
So this is
quickly
how
go-
bad it was. Robert, he's the happiest person I've seen clean a toilet. This whole place was a mess. So imagine insects, cockroaches, everything was infested in here, in their kitchen. And some people didn't know how to use a mop, but anyway, we'll keep that later. This is because they couldn't get into the toilet because of a doorknob that wasn't being, like, you couldn't open it, and it just stunk, and it was there for months, and it was really hot weather, and you can imagine hot weather with the smell of, clogged toilets, how it'd be. So, So we'll move on quickly. Bishoy Wasif and I, we were left behind. These guys just ditched all of us. All 30 of them ditched us and went to eat.
We were hungry, wanted Burger King, so we thought we'd leave them behind.
So they left me and Bishoy. Bishoy just walked into church anyway. So Bishoy and I were left to do a bit of maintenance and stuff. And Bishoy actually fell off that ladder like a few times because there was a screw missing in the ladder, but he survived. He's here right at the back.
Hey, welcome.
That was a squeaky fan, and during mass, it was so annoying. Like it was just really squeaky. Like someone scratching, chalkboard. Like that was that sound the whole time in mass. And so we went and got WD-40 and all that stuff. And over there, everything like simple DIY stuff is very expensive. Very, very, very expensive. Like things like a bottle that would cost like $5 over there would cost around $35. And it's very expensive. Everything that's branded is very expensive. And then the funny thing is over there, like your Woolies Select and your Coles brands are in the same shop. So I don't know how these combined Woolies and Coles together, but they did it. And you go in the shop and you can buy Woolies and Coles stuff at the same place. Anyway, so we went there and we fixed that fan, and they were like, wow. And then the other one was this projector. And this is a funny story. So actually, no, there's another fan story. So we bought fans, and we were using a drill, and this drill was on very low battery. So it was like, let's just say, the guy that was helping us do the maintenance, he said, look, this thing is going to die out pretty soon. You won't be able. And we were drilling through concrete to install these new fans because it was really hot. And we were like, okay, we'll work and see what happens. Anyway, so we drilled all the fans. There were about 4 fans. Is that right, Bishoy? 4 fans? 4 fans. And we did all the work, and then suddenly we were like, okay, this thing is going to like stop, because we were drilling through like very, like, it was concrete, and it was an old drill anyway. Funny thing is, we got through all of it, and then once the last screw was, drilled in, the drill stopped. Even the maintenance was like, how? This thing should have died a long time ago. And Shoy and I realized that God was definitely working with us, because these guys needed the fans, especially in the dining area where it's really hot, in the hall as well, where it gets really, really muggy and hot. So, we noticed things happening in a weird way. Things that shouldn't work were working. The projector screen, sorry, just going back quickly to that. The projector screen was not working for a few years. And do you guys remember that TV that we pulled apart? Well, that TV that we pulled apart we were needing a fuse, okay? And that fuse was to work this projector screen. And by chance, that the exact fuse that we wanted was in that TV that they were going to throw out after we opened it apart. And it fit right into that projector screen. What's Lydia's husband's name? Andrew. Yeah. Oh, his name is Andrew. How can I forget? He started crying. He's like, I can't believe this. We were trying to get these guys this projector working because we wanted to play movies for the kids and stuff, and you guys got it working. I was like, just randomly, God, we found the exact fuse. And you guys know that fuses come in different shapes and size. For you to find the exact fuse from a different device completely that works on this, that was a miracle on its own. We're like, wow. And this is why Abuna's like going like this. Teaching business workshops, so quickly we just taught them about profit and stuff, and they made their own little jewelry and stuff.
And that was just a message that Lydia sent us after we came back. It says the kids will be stoked. Also, we gave them all their wages yesterday, $20 each and $40 for those who did the braiding and beads. And we asked them what they'd like to do with the rest of the profits, whether to use it for outings or to reinvest back into their new business venture. And they all wanted to reinvest in it. It was such a proud moment. So thank you to all the servants, especially Karen, who worked so tirelessly to try and explain to them the concept of profit.
And pay slips. All right. The other thing was... Oh, yes. Yes. So just quickly, just going back, sorry, just before this. This is Father David. So he's Fijian. He's full Fijian. He's a priest of St. Mark's, which is that church that we're in there, which is like a hall that's high above an electrical, some store, electrical store. And we were upstairs there and praying. And in the distribution section, they turn into Fijian and they sing, the boys sing a section and the girls sing. And they also, we did a whole night on the reflection of Fiji and it took 2.5 hours. So we're just giving you a quick rundown.
I'm very conscious of time and Daniel at the back because I know he's going to hammer me if I don't finish on time.
Yeah, so we're going to finish this quickly. So they did the tasbeha. The girls led the tasbeha. And by the way, it's beautiful.
There's a video, you'll see that soon.
Yeah, so. Like full tasbeha. They run it as if the girls run the show on Sundays. And this is Abuna Raphael. And then this is us better. Dominating. So we went to the hotel and we had to say, look, the Egyptians are here. And we raised the flag in the hotel. We're a proud moment over there. Never the Egyptian flag has ever been raised in Fiji. So it was a first for many. And the other thing was, a lot of places that we went to, we found out, and this is a little secret, that ancient Egyptians went to Fiji. And many Fijians believe that some of them believe that they are ancestors of ancient Egyptians. So when we went to all these different cities, we heard the same stories. We're like, what? So Geddu went to Fiji back 4,000, 6,000 years ago. And they're like, yeah, there's stories of ancient Egyptians making it. Because back in the day, they wanted a religion. So they went up the Red Sea into Egypt. And then they got the high priests to move with them back to Fiji. And apparently there's a one lady that had so many kids. She was an Egyptian lady, had so many Egyptian kids over there. And many of them believe that they are genetically associated with Egypt. Service. This is how you'll turn out to be at the end of the service. You will look like this. You look at Abuna. Look at that. That is powerful. This is it. This is when you're on low battery. And yeah, like that's how you're going to turn out at the end. And then Abuna, as well. He had so much fun. When this was put on Abuna, he turned into a different man. He was like, call me chief. Throughout the whole trip, he would just wear it out of nowhere. It's like, oh, power, ultimate power. So yeah, and then thank you to Abunas and all those that came on the trip. Thank you guys. And then the last thing we have is the Fiji donations. So if you guys want to take a photo of this, and you can, because it's end of financial year, you can donate to these homes. Lolima Home I would say is the one that needs the most help at the moment.
And that concludes our talk. I'm going to show you, if you need these details, you can come see us. I'll show it to you at the end. But for the time constraints, I'm going to play the two little video clips. We'll start off with South Africa, and then I'll show you Fiji, and I'll talk you through South Africa. So this.